group. I mean, it amazes me every time, and I think this is the most, probably the most worked. I mean, the amount of effort I think you have all put into, taking the steps. You have delivered the most complete descriptions, like, your ideal client, so I can only say it from the outside, but the most complete descriptions and details and that I have seen in this series of sessions. So thank you for, well, playing the sport and doing your work, and thank you, because I'm learning so much from your thought process. It is really, really deep, so I just want to acknowledge you for that. So any questions, anything that's on your mind, on your work? Not in general about life, about your powerful and your irresistible offer.
Well, I found it a little challenging to, because I sent out emails trying to schedule MRCs with people, and they're busy. So to do the homework, to do the MRCs and recalibrate our offer within 1 week was just too much of a challenge. I reached out to 11 people and have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 who have agreed to meet with me, but they couldn't meet last week.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to incorporate any of that into a revised offer. I know Troy, he has a magic wand. He did it.
Troy has the magic wand. Yes. Hi, Troy. Hi, Roxana. Welcome. But you see, Tricia, this is okay, because what Karen wanted in the concept of this module was to drive this sense of urgency about how important market research conversations are. That's the most important thing, let's say, to get, because it's our job, it's our lifeline, it's everything. So of course clients are busy, and I mean, 7 to agree, that's already like a high score. So you're up there, because many times you have to try and kind of hang around, and they're busy with something else, and they might be available 3 months from now just because they're doing their job, not because of you. So that plays up a lot. Now the other thing is, we Tiffany, I'm not sure for how long is the Facebook group going to stay open after we finish, the 4th week with Karen?
Yeah.
Is the Facebook group?
Yeah, we'll leave it open for 30 days after the last call.
Oh, good.
So I'll be joining to give feedback. I'll continue. That's why we leave it open. And of course, you can, like I have seen, help a lot each other. But there's this extension that we usually have to allow more flexibility.
Yeah.
Thank
you. Sorry. We can just support each other, ask each other questions, encouragement. Like we see people really, interacting through that 30 days, especially as you're working through this and having the questions that might come up during it.
Yes.
And we might not be able to answer like when we're in the course here with you, we can answer questions pretty quickly because we're really engaged in this moment with you. So you might just get a little bit of a delay in a response, but we are watching and still a part of this. So just kind of let you know, like the response time might change a little bit, but usually we're here. So we just don't want you to be disappointed if we didn't answer, as quickly as we have.
Yeah, the point is the group will be open, and for sure I would go there once a day, for example. Okay. But also, I have noticed you do it, but I just want to reinforce the importance of it. Read each other's comments, because there's great learning from seeing someone else's thought process, because the principles are the same. The application is what's different. So like I said earlier, I find it very interesting, and I learn a lot from seeing your work. So, I encourage everyone to really take advantage of it.
Viviane, may I ask a question to build on what Tricia was saying? So how many MRCs would you recommend before saying, okay, now I'm done, I have enough information, or at least I have something to finalize my ideal offer.
Yeah. You see, the thing, the market research conversation is a data collection tool for us. So we want to collect enough data until the picture of what goes on in the ideal client's life becomes clear and stabilizes. So there's no magic number, but once you start hearing the same sort of things coming up, that's where you know, okay, I know what's happening in the world of these people. And remember, we're not about the exhaustive detail. We just want the big things, the one most important in particular every time. So once you start hearing the same sort of things, that's a sign that, okay, maybe I can, take a break. Oh, you always stay close. You speak with your client. So if something changes, you'll hear it and you'll pick it up because you're in this, you're in the zone with the power of one. So it never leaves you. That's what I've learned. You kind of carry it with you, and the minute something changes, you pick it up almost instinctively. Your radar is tuned into it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else going on? Somebody had, who was it that asked a question about a phrase they wanted to use in the beginning of the irresistible offer? They had like, this is the phrase, and I don't know how to use it, something like that. And I responded, bring it to the Q&A. I don't remember who it was though. It started with a T, but that's not, it's like a 50-50. Tracy, Trisha?
Yeah.
No?
I
Okay.
did have a question. Can you hear me now, Vivian?
Yes, go for it.
Great. So I've done one market research conversation and I've got 3 after this call today. What I'm wondering is, because I haven't, my niche is working with leaders of dysfunctional teams, and I don't have it pinned down to an industry specific. And I'm interested in what types of things I should be looking for those MRCs to help me identify that I need to narrow it down, or if I'm okay to have it as open and broad.
Yeah. You see, the question is really about your ability to access these ideal clients. So the first question, I mean, you've already done it in the power of one, but I'm asking it again because I don't remember the details of everyone. Like in your background or in your power of one, where do you expect to find those ideal clients? What's the easiest way to find those ideal clients and speak with them?
Through my network.
Okay, so the network, is it specific, or it kind of crosses over different fields?
It crosses over different fields.
If you can access them, you don't need to specify industry. It's really, how can you get to them? How can you find them and speak with them? That's the whole point.
Okay.
If your experience allows you, it crosses over, that's fine. You have the means to access them. Other people stay in an industry and they have their career there, so they have all their network there. So if it works for you that way, and you can always hear what your ideal clients say because remember, you're still a coach when you do the market research conversation. You use your coaching skills. So you listen to what they say and you ask if you don't understand something. And that is the lead you follow. That's the thread you follow. And if it's too broad, or they use too different, the languages are so different, maybe the challenges are so different, okay, it's going to make you think. But if you see coherence, you stay as you are. Does that help?
That does help.
Okay.
I have another.
Let us know how you're doing. Yeah, but let us know how you, after your market research conversations, how the scenery, how it is shaping up for you.
Thank you. I have another
Yeah.
futuristic type.
Okay, I like that, futuristic.
So say that we all do wonderful and we attract all kinds of clients with our current irresistible offer. And whether it is 6 months or 2 years down the road, and that market might be drying up, or we just have a different interest. Does this make sense that we could go through the same process and identify another niche? So we have all of our content already for what we've done now, and then we kind of do the same thing but with a different niche, and maybe then have multiple offerings, because that does broaden a niche. However, it seems to make sense in my mind that would be doable.
Yes, I like the futuristic. I see why the term futuristic there. So, so yeah, you can do anything you want. It's as you described it exactly. It's the getting the biggest bang from the buck. That's the expression, right? Because usually for us coaches, it's one of us. We don't have an army of like a big marketing team to help us. So we need to do everything, create the content, find it, post it. So like you described, you serve your ideal clients, and you at the same time create your content and all your communication. So there will be a point where you will start recycling some of this stuff. So some of it will be still new, some of it could be recycled. So that's the way to look at it. Now, if in the future, for the reasons you described, I don't think the niche would dry up. I think you would probably become an expert and become more of an authority, but whatever it may be. Or if you want to freshen things up and expand a little bit, or still have the same ideal client, but address a different challenge in their life. You, of course, like you said, you would do exactly the same thing. But because you already have one mechanism, one wheel turning, it doesn't, you have energy to do it. The difference is you don't want to do them at the same time, start developing two directions, because there's not going to be enough hours in the day to do it.
Yeah.
But as you described it, like in sequence is what we try to do to increase our reach. We don't want to do it at the same time. We want to get one power of one done, solidify it, get it working, get known for it. So you want to have people calling you, not you, trying to make a point. And then that saves you energy, and you can use it for something else that's of interest to you.
Thank you, Vivian.
Yeah.
Vivian, you had an interesting remark on the Facebook group when you said that the name of our product should reflect the desired result, not the process. I found that very, very relevant. So do you have some examples perhaps of some catchy, various offer names?
So it's very much, if you think about it, when I'm trying to remember the specific, like you get your interpersonal skills, or emotional intelligence is a classic one that comes up all the time. I don't remember if you have it in your group, but you see, you want to express your irresistible offer using the language your client uses. So reading their minds, remember? So a client never wakes up at night, opens their eyes and says, God, I gotta get my emotional intelligence right. I don't think any person does that, because that's a technical term. It's the product of scientific analysis. Instead, you want to say, okay, in the context of that ideal client, maybe they're going to be super, I gotta get successful and at work and get that promotion. Maybe if that's your ideal client, if they want a promotion. So you could have, you have the queens there learning how to walk, something, what did you call that? So you've got, you already have phrases that I understand resonate with your ideal client. So one of the titles, I think you have a thing for branding actually. So one of those titles, something like the titles you have, that's what I would
Okay.
use. So it has to be something that they say to themselves, that they aspire to using their language.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Come on, Deb, I know something, the grinds are turning. Come on, say it. We cannot hear you.
I'm just thinking about, you know, everything here and just trying to absorb it all. And I was thinking about what you said about what the client say based on the interviews that you've had with them
Yeah.
and the relief that they're looking for.
Exactly that. You hit the nail on the head. What's that relief? That's, you basically, you want to describe the desired results somehow in a
Yes.
catchy way.
Yes. And so as I'm thinking about that, so I think it was actually Friday or Saturday. I sent out 7 follow-ups with all the results from the market research that I did the first time around. And it might have been more than 7, but anyways, I sent those out. And I'm just, I've got one response so far, but there's no interest yet. And then yesterday I sent out 8 more. And it's interesting because when I look at the research and I see everything that everyone is really hijacked about, and I can't bring it off the top of my head because I don't have it in front of me, but it's interesting that there are some similarities. I think the greatest data that I received was on the question, once I explained what the hijacking moment is.
Yeah.
And they
So you agreed on the terminology with them, basically.
Yes, the terminology,
Yeah.
because they actually know what it is, but they don't know what it is. So once I explain it to them, and then I asked them, when was the last time you were triggered by a hijacking moment? Everyone knew an answer. I mean, I probably had like 30 responses. Because they had, wow, this happened and then this happened and I remember it and I'll never forget it. And it was what it felt like and all of that.
So you have like case studies from what I hear.
Absolutely.
So all those individual scenarios, what you can make them into case studies for each of these situations.
Yes. Yes.
Using the ideal client's language and all. I mean, you have their life.
Yes. So I'm just taking that. I'm gonna develop some case studies. Go ahead.
So one thing that could help you, because you've already started doing it live, you could do some videos or texts or a blend of messaging using your power of one to educate your ideal clients around hijacking moments, like you've done it live. So we're not talking about giving them a degree after that. It's just like because hijacking moments is, well, I mean, it could end up being your thing, the queen of hijacking moments. But it will help, like you've experienced in reality, it would help trigger more discussion through social media, I believe.
Absolutely.
You've done it all live, so you just need to mirror it online, I think.
Yes, yes. And this is for sure going to be my signature program. I've already, decided on that because there's so many different avenues that I can take with this. because when I talk to people, it's either personal things that they've went through that have hijacked them, or it's something at work, or it's something like, you know, a conversation, you know, something at work, and there's just this constant threat, trigger, fear of conversations, and they don't know how to navigate that. So there's lots of,
that's why they need support there.
yeah,
That's why they need help.
Yeah, that's why I thought I would make it my signature program, just because there's so many different legs that I can build from this.
You can be a caterpillar with so many legs available there.
I like
Yes.
caterpillar. I'm glad you didn't say centipede.
I didn't know that word in English. So you were lucky there. Oh, okay. So you've got your material there. It's a question of describing those situations, and your ideal clients will see themselves in it, like you've already done live. So thank you, Deb. Thank you. Anybody else? Anything on anybody else's mind for today?
I'll be happy to pitch in with just an idea that came up it was not an intentional conversation. It was actually before our last session. And I realized that very often leaders in Central Eastern Europe, they have a challenge to make their voices heard at the level of headquarters. And this is where this radiant personal brand comes into place. And I feel that this idea of radiant personal brand that makes you trustworthy, that makes you visible, and it simply, how to put it, counterbalances the biases that are attached to your origin. Because from Romania to Bulgaria to Russia, it just this location is attached with a certain bias. And speaking of to headquarters, appears to be a need I didn't even know was there. My focus was much more on their visibility on the local markets, but this is a need that apparently
different angle there.
Yeah. So it was an interesting insight for me. I didn't even know it was there.
No? What kind of companies do these people like? Do they make a tangible product or a service?
I serve more. Well, I'm an expert on the banking sector and the finance sector in the Czech Republic, because I'm a former financial journalist, so it's a bit natural. Then I do a lot of retail and FMCG. And I don't do much industry because, like, Prague is a country in the country. Prices in Prague are quite bigger than in the region. So the industry is in the regions, and I do much more services which are more kind of a capital centric, if you will.
I see.
Yeah, but this is the greatest challenge. I see these leaders, may they be men or women, as in between, two pressure plates. One plate being the need to represent the local market and fulfill their need, the needs of the local market, and then the pressure from the headquarters.
Yes.
And they need a powerful enough brand, personal brand, so they make their voices heard both ways.
Yes, and I will share this, but I'm not saying for sure it reflects your ideal clients, but for the FMC, not for the service banking sector, but for the FMCGs, there is this bias, which is the low cost area, which comes with everything. So I work with these people. So there is definitely a difference, and I had never thought about their link with corporate, but since you spotted it. So ask them, if you spotted that as, it's good to explore and spend time with your ideal clients and trying to understand what is that one biggest thing and what will be your angle. It's healthy you don't have to have the answer straight away. So think about what would be like the path of least resistance and the one that you like the most as well. So it has to make you happy as well. But they can tell you, it depends on what's their biggest thing.
Mhm.
But
So-
the regions where you describe, the low-cost zone is the big heritage there.
yeah, well, all the countries in Central Eastern Europe are confronted
Yeah,
with
that's what I
they're
mean.
expected to deliver, but not
Yeah,
to be promoted. Yeah, but
to
that
be
you
the
know,
hands, to be the hands in a way, and not the brain. The brain would be in the headquarters. The hands would
not
be
the and not the
passing out.
strategic. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And when you add being a woman to this, then you have a
Yeah.
killer combo. As
Yes.
a
Yeah.
woman from Central Eastern Europe,
Yeah.
good luck with being promoted at the headquarters in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
US or France.
So that question in the market research conversations, that point where it says, what would you expect in your, if you had an ideal program and like that, I would stay a little bit in that question and ask the same thing in different ways. Just labor the point a bit, because
Okay.
clients, they haven't spent time articulating all of this. The first time they thought about it is when you ask them the questions.
Yeah.
So give them the time to think and to, if you see there is, because they're reflecting and identifying what goes on in their lives as they respond to you. And that's why you are giving them value anyway when
Yeah.
you do a market research conversation.
Yeah.
And that's why Karen, she always says it, make sure you give them a transformation, a fantastic experience, because that's going to be a little bit of what they get working with you.
Practical question that I think would be relevant for all of us. When I do interviews for CMTV for my platform, I send the questions in advance so people can prepare. What is your experience with MRC, questions? Does it make sense? Would it be helpful?
Ask them. Well, see, like I try to gauge, because there are different people who like things differently. There are certain people that are better live, if they kill the spontaneity. If others,
I'm not saying to
want to
replace.
have,
I'm not saying to replace.
yeah.
I'm just saying to just send them the question so they can think about it.
It depends on the person, I would say. I don't think there's a good or bad answer there.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes people ask for the question, so they give you a hint that they want to think about it. Other times, they say nothing. And so when people ask me about questions, I'm other people's ideal client, you see. I never want to know the questions in advance. So I make a point of saying, please, because I'm going to exhaust the topic on my own, and then I'm going to give you 3 words, and that will be my response. So ask them.
I was going to say that my experience has been when you're talking to people in a conversation, it's more spontaneous. I think if they have the questions in advance, they may overthink, it may be overwhelming. It's not the same as being connected, but that's just what I've experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, I have, I have 12 years of journalism behind, and I have all kinds of experiences from people reacting by sending you written answers to your questions, to people not having time to look at them. But you're absolutely right, Vivian, that it depends on the person. That the spontaneity is very important, and I think that the the gut reactions or the instant, because we're looking for words that
and you're
could
looking for the
define
top
their
things.
challenges.
But this is where, and I totally agree with Rita, and that's why I like the conversation of it, because as a coach you need to listen to all of that. But just moderate, give them a little bit of more time. That's all I would say. In my experience, you just need to, if they're thinking about it, give them that space. Don't expect like a fully, edited answer with numbers. They will find what they want to say as they go.
Yeah. So do you transcribe the interviews afterwards? Guys, what's your experience?
Yeah, what does everyone else do? Come on, Troy. Yes. You can try with a mic on.
Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
That's good.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, oh yeah, I definitely have to transcribe because I try to stay, I can't take notes and talk at the same time because I'm trying to be present and, look for things that I have to go back in and, to understand or what have you. So for me, I have to record it and then I go back and listen to it, because at first, my mind is going so fast, I process things fast and then I may miss stuff. And then when I go back, I'm like, wow, this is
Yeah.
better than what I thought. Well, so for me, I have to, I have to record it and go back and I have to think about it. And then when I go back, it just, it just keeps giving me more, which probably was already there anyway, but I'm just probably moving too fast in my head.
Yeah. I think
Thank
Zoom
you.
has a
Someone-
feature. I think Zoom has a feature when you record in the cloud that it transcribes
Yes.
automatically. So I
Ah.
just wanted to check if you're using it.
Maybe Tiffany has some words of wisdom there. I don't use transcribing services, but I do. I listen back and I take notes of the keywords, like what Troy said. But I don't transcribe the whole thing. But as I listen to it, I just give myself the time to take note of the keywords and what is of interest.
One thing I can add, I found that I do use a transcribing service. I'm going to see how much do I still need it going forward, because I found that when I transcribe it, and I'm looking at it, I'm listening to it, for me, if I just listen to it and I, like Vivian said, give myself time, and I'm like, just, even though I have it transcribed, if I listen to it and just take my own notes, I think it may be more effective for me, but everyone's different. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But when I went back and even though I had it transcribed, I started taking my own notes, just being more that.
Yeah, because you want to capture everything in the conversation. So don't rely on text. It's not for an exam. So as you listen, I mean, you already as a coach listened live and certain things have stayed with you. And you just complement that and you have more time, the luxury of picking up. It's about keywords and like what picture is painted. What picture is this client painting? So you don't need all of it transcribed. It's not a newspaper. It's still a live dialogue. So just you don't want to do more than what you have to do. You need to do what's enough.
That's why I'm asking, because I know that Zoom has this facility, and I just wanted to check if some of you are using it and what's your experience with it. Because I'm sure that it can be very helpful if that's the case. But of course, it's not the only thing. It can be helpful if it's there.
Does anyone use any transcribing then services? Anything to share with Christina and with everyone?
Well, I use Otter AI.
Okay, yeah.
Otter AI.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that I hear of most is the Otter AI. Otter.ai, right? Isn't that how you spell that, right?
Yep.
And then Rev, is it Rev Up or just
Yeah.
Rev Up? And then there are people out there too who will transcribe. Like we know a gal lady, she does transcribing, but she transcribes videos for folks to get their credentialing. So, I mean, there are people out there too who do some transcribing. And yet I think, like when you're getting going like this and it's like, I liked how Troy, you talked about like rewatching the video and taking more notes. And because we're talking about the MRC conversations, right? And so when I did my MRCs, I mean, I had a document with all my questions and I let them know that I was taking notes. And I would write my notes while they were talking and I would ask them, I'm like, okay, what was that again? What did you say? Because part of the MRCs is I let them know that I am you know, to help me with my marketing message as well, that I might use some of what they're saying to develop some of my own marketing. And everyone's pretty, everyone is always like, oh yeah, no problem. You know, nobody really questions that. And then what I do is I like take all these Word documents and then I throw all the same, like, you know, question one, everybody's answer to question one under question one. And then I analyze that, you know, and it's like, okay, what are people saying? What's the consistencies? And you know, I didn't record any of my MRCs. I just had a conversation with people.
Yeah.
And it was really exploring who they are and, you know, what they think. And it wasn't necessarily to answer, it was to answer some questions that I could get, right? But information from, but it was in the conversation and then taking those notes. And I've even gone back to people and said, hey, can I just pick your brain about that a little bit more? So
yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
really.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing this, because it's about the simplicity of it, because you don't want to make a NASA project out of your market research conversations. Okay. And the important thing is, remember, it's the big things you want to listen to. It's not about, you know, passing an exam. So the big things, if it's important enough, it will come up multiple times. That's another tip there. So what's on their mind keeps coming up in the conversation. So even without the recording, I think you would probably have 70%. I record, I ask permission and record, but I do take some, you know, I scribble as we talk. I am present, but I just write some keywords. I don't write phrases, I write keywords. So I might have 3-4 keywords, but that is like, it helps me reconstruct my thought process afterwards. And I just go quickly if I have more questions. Sometimes it's clear. But I only look for the big things, because the power of one is about the one biggest thing each time. It's not about everything. And if it's important enough for them, it comes up again and again. They mention it, they talk about it.
And the other thing to this whole process too is it's not about getting this perfect. Like the work that you're doing is not about getting it perfect. It's about getting you moving, getting yourself out there, putting something out there based on some information that you've gathered. And as you continue in your career and in your business, you're going to become even more clear on that as you go. So for me, I had to kind of get over that a little bit, because otherwise I was stuck in having it to be just right so that I get a, you know, like, I mean, obviously this is my livelihood, so I need to make some money and get some clients, right? But I couldn't let that get in the way of just starting to put myself out there so that I could be found and be helpful to others and make a living. So, you know,
yeah, it has to work. That's all.
Yeah.
It has to work. Yeah.
Karen talks a lot about our perfectionism, right? And so like we just, right. So that's part of this too, is like, try not to let that get in the way with what you're doing.
Yeah. So remember we had talked about in our first appointment together about avoiding analysis paralysis. That's what Tiffany is talking about with perfectionism, right? Let's not create a comfort zone by analyzing the market research conversation.
So I have to share something which is vulnerable. And typically I don't like to do that, but some people might find this funny. So when it came time for market research calls, I was just, I was stuck. I was like, oh, you mean I have to call someone? Because I am not one that likes to talk on the phone. And I typically tell my friends, I'm a bad friend, because you can say, just call me. I won't, unless I really need to. You know, but it's not that I don't like you. It's just that, you know what, I'm not really a phone person. Well, here's the thing. I was doing what Christina had mentioned, and that was I was going to send all these market research questions. I was going to send them out. Well, then I thought, you know what? The only way to overcome this is to call people. And so as grueling as it was for me, I did start the calling. And here's what I discovered. I discovered what was missing by sending all the questions out via email. What's missing is the connection with people. And I never thought about that because I've always avoided the phone. But let me tell you, it's different now. I had to go through that. So Rita was absolutely correct when she was mentioning that there's that spontaneity. You don't get the spontaneity when it's on paper. You don't get that. So it's really helped me to come out of that shell part of myself that just never wanted to do that. You know, when I worked a job, I had to be on the phone. But when I got home, if the phone was ringing, my husband would say, grab the phone. Nope, I'm done.
Yeah, but thank you for sharing this and sharing the vulnerability and the experience as well. Remember to just add and probably close the loop on this. Remember, when you're in a market research conversation, you are still a coach and you need to listen as a coach. So it's not just the words, it is all of you needs to listen to all of that person. And you pick on, you know, all the things we do as coaches, on emotions, on hesitations, on all of that. So remember as well that your ideal clients are most likely a reflection of you. So how do you react when people send you a questionnaire? I can tell you how I react. 95% of the time, I don't do questionnaires. It's not my style. I see it as a waste of my time, as a chore. However, if someone gives me a personal message, reaches out and says, hey, do you have 20 minutes? I want to go through something. I'm always saying yes, because I like what Deb said, the connection. I like to feel that it's meaningful. So that's something I use as data in how I connect with my ideal clients. So figure out what you do and how your ideal clients, you know, what happens in their world, and just use the best approach that's going to get you the result you want, which is the conversation. It doesn't have to be the same for everyone.
And if I may share, sorry, I'm sharing a lot today.
Yeah.
I just MRTs like were really changed my business, so that's why I really like them. But it was, Deb, I like what you shared too, because it was in the conversations that people were like, oh, maybe you can help me. Maybe I should hire you. Like nobody was hiring me off an email or my website or my Facebook posts that look great and are consistent. Like there's a marrying of activities that we do, but it was in the conversations where people got to know me that they wanted to talk more with me. And so, and it helps build a pipeline for later too. So.
So stay close to each of your ideal clients, and you'll find what the best approach is for each of them. What works. What else is on your mind? A couple of people on the Facebook group, we exchanged on the number of people in their group. So let me just share that with everyone in case you didn't read the responses. So you need to decide what's the maximum number of people you have in your group, right? So one of you cannot serve any kind of number of participants. So the point when when you have a group session, your participants, your clients, they need to get the same quality, all of them, which means they need to get, that translates to them getting enough of you. So the more people you have, the less of you each of them has, let's put it this way. So you need to find what is the golden point where you can facilitate or coach or train, whatever, you know, the work might be. What's the maximum you can do whilst safeguarding the quality of the deliverable, then getting a great experience? So for me, I go for 7, and many times they push. I would say I have a built-in cushion there, so I can go for 8 and still do a good job. And the maximum I've been once was 9, and it wasn't as good, so I don't go there again. But that's how my experience works, because I want them to be excited and give them the best experience of their lives, and them want to do more, rather than have more people in a more average result feeling in the end. That's how I see it. So have a think, because clients always push for, you know, if you're in a company especially, they always want to put as many people as they can in a session that you propose. That 9 times out of 10, I think this is what happens in my world anyway. So you need to have not only the number, the ratio figured out in your head, but you need to be prepared to explain the reasoning. So I always explain it's about the quality. It's not about me wanting to do more sessions. Well, you know, it's not really a concern if we do a second session, but the session I put my name, I associate my name to, I use the phrase that I am the garant of quality in this. I assure quality. So it's my responsibility to say it and explain it. And most cases, they like that. They actually, it gives credibility. So think about what kind of work you do and what, you know, in terms of your groups, how you can serve them in terms of volume.
I want to react to that, Vivian, because 80% of my work is training and facilitation. So, and since March last year, I had 130 virtual workshops. So I have some experience with groups. I think it's very individual. I think it depends a lot on the topic. And I also think that it's very important how you satisfy, you know, the need for, well, focus from you, if you will, but also interaction among themselves. So splitting them into one-on-ones, into groups of 3, and so on. And I think that when we're careful about this type of needs, I have excellent experience with groups of up to 18 people, but it depends very much on the topic. And it also depends whether those people have access to you in a one-on-one as a added benefit. So I just closed a mastermind on personal branding, and it was brilliant that people could book extra sessions one-on-one. So I think that sometimes actually a larger group is helpful, because you deliver, you create engagement, it can be there. So, but it's good to have this option that if they need more of you, that they can, you know, book it for an extra cost.
Yes, and it totally agree. It depends on the design of your offer. That's what I mean. Find out, see what kind of work you do, and find out what is that ratio, and just work with it knowingly, not to promise anything that won't be delivered because the design is different. So find out what is quality. I mean, they will. That's part of the when they tell you the desired result. That's what you need to ensure is delivered. Anything else on your mind? No? Oh, you're quiet today. Is it because we always meet on Mondays?
I'll share real quick is that when you mentioned the size of the group, when you commented on my irresistible
Oh,
offer,
yes, yes.
I had I had not really thought about it the way you thought about it. And so that brought awareness to me as to, but you know, making sure that everyone has quality time with me. I never really thought about it that way. So I thought that was very interesting. Thought provoking for sure.
Yes. Yes, and you figure out what is that desire, you know, you speak with them, and when you ask that question, what would you like in your ideal, if you had a magic wand, what would be an ideal program? You remember that question in the market research. That's where you need to zoom. Like I mentioned it earlier, you labor the point, you stay there, because the more you ask, the more the client's going to give you details. So they will tell you what the experience they want is. They're not going to tell you in some technical way from your point of view, but they will describe what they will want to experience, how they want to be in that program. And all you have to do is do the flip side, and that's almost like you're part of your irresistible offer there.
Mm-hmm.
So the market research conversations have so much information there. You just need to connect the dots, like this question, yeah, that question, and give them time. You know, don't, if they give you an answer, if it's an area of interest, I stay there and I ask again with a different phrase. And then I ask, like, maybe, okay, so what you meant was this. Oh, and they tell you more. So I stay there until it becomes clear to me. And sometimes they actually summarize for you because it's their thinking process. They say, okay, so this is what it could look like, and it would be like this and that and the other. And so they make the plan in their heads, which suggests that you're very close to, you know, that's a very hot prospect.
That's a great point, Vivian. That's, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't realize I struggle with that, like just moving too fast and stuff.
Yeah.
I move fast in certain areas or whatever, but I definitely have to be more mindful because it's a conversation, but it is a coaching process. And, you know,
It's a coaching with an agenda in a way, because you have the questions,
yeah,
but they are free to answer anything they want.
absolutely.
You don't control that.
In any kind of way. So I just have to be mindful about slowing myself down because I don't know where I'm rushing. I don't know where I'm going. So I don't even know why I'm rushing. I'm not going anywhere. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I just have to slow myself down, okay? Because I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, they will they have their thinking, you know, it's a learning curve, the market research conversation. And I remember your ideal clients, Troy. Think about it. They need to improve their people skills, like work better with the team, something like that.
Right.
So imagine you're in a conversation, so you need to account for that difficulty they have. So that's another reason why you need to build in more, you know, to somehow elicit more of the response, because you already know that they're not the most talkative and the most reflective people in the world. So you kind of need to account for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Even one guy, he was like, he would rephrase my questions and he was like, let me think about the answer. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Right. Because you're not just saying something, you spit it out.
Yeah.
I actually like the fact that he took it, he sat there and thought about it to give me a response.
In most cases, your ideal clients, it's the first time in their lives they're thinking about these things you're asking them, and they reflect. So imagine the shock to the system. So you feel the energy, and you need to, that's where all the coaching skills come in handy. You need to make it to help them along, express themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm looking at the time. I'll surprise everyone. We're not going to be late this time. I'm learning. I just get too excited. So that's why we took a few minutes more last time. So remember that The Facebook group will be open for a month after the end of the session so that we can still exchange, we can still talk and share feedback. And next Monday, we'll be together with Karen, and you'll have the opportunity to have her expert feedback with all her years of experience on your irresistible offer. So you carry on doing your market research conversations, enrich, change, amend. I mean, do what you need so that you're happy with it, with your power of one and the irresistible offer. And you'll know when it's there, when you're ready to go. And avoiding analysis paralysis. It's about using it more than just compiling it. Okay? So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
And we'll see each other in the Facebook group. Take
Thank
care.
you very
Bye.
much for everything.
Bye.
Bye-bye.